Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. I've had some questions about stamping in my Happy Planner, so I thought I'd go ahead and bring you guys along as I set up my wellness journal for next week, January 21st through 27th. Now there's a lot of repetitive stamping that I'm going to be doing in the planner, but first let's go through what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using Distress Oxides in the colors of Broken China, Worn Lipstick, and Faded Jeans. I took my inspiration from the LOL line out of Hobby Lobby that I picked up recently, and I'm going to be using the LOL stamps for that as well, just a little bit, as this is really a functional tracker instead of a planner, and it's not real decorative, so I'm just going to have a little bit of this on here, but I wanted you to see these are the stamps that I'm going to be using. I'm also going to be utilizing a lot of this Agenda 52 Essentials planner stamp set. Let me get this so you guys can see it. There's lots of essentials in this one, and I haven't used it before, so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me just getting used to it, but I think it's going to work great for what I have in mind. Let's set those aside. And then I'm also got my VersaFine ink, just in case I decide I'm going to do some VersaFine. I think I'm going to stamp one of the girls in VersaFine, and I just like black for that. I've got my stamp blocks, and a few of them are already loaded, ready to go. And then I also pulled out this pink paisley stamp set because I really like the three little dots here. There is a great selection on the Agenda 52. There's boxes that you can check off. There's also numbers for priority. However, I only need 3 boxes, and I don't want to cut this one down. You can cut down your stamps for whatever purpose you need. For example, I took this Hydrate stamp that is a little bit wider than most Happy Planner boxes are, and I just cut it right where it says Hydrate and has the semicolon, so I can either use Hydrate or I can use the droplets to check off or color in or whatever I'm going to do with it for the week, or I can combine the two on my stamp block and have it look just like that. So don't be afraid to cut your stamps apart if that's what you need to do. All right, I also have my very well used Squeaky Clean stamp scrubber from Brutus Monroe. I love this thing. It gets lots of use, and when it gets really inked up, I just go in and I wash it with some dish soap, or I use my Squeaky Clean cleaner to actually go through and clean it, which that is the best, but I'm out of Squeaky Clean right now, so I have to be ordering that from either May Made It or Brutus Monroe. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, I've loaded my stamp blocks, and for the ones that I want to make sure I have straight, I am using a stamp block that has a grid on it so that makes it easy for me to stamp. And I also have my little 1-inch cubes. You can use both sides, which I have this one loaded double side. And if you're having trouble with your stamps, like you want to stamp out a new stamp on a scratch piece of paper a couple of times and see how it's going to be working for you, if you're not getting good coverage, you can always take it and just rub it on the back of your hand. Now, I don't know that the LOL or the Agenda 52s happen to be photopolymer. I don't think that they are, but they are clear stamps, so it's easy to see what you're doing. Okay. Get my stuff ready and we will get started stamping. I'm going to start out with, actually I think I'm going to start out stamping my girl onto my page. I'm going to use this girl with the coffee cup and the sunglasses on her head because that is totally me. So I have a longer stamp block off to the side, and I'm just going to lay her on there. And I think because I may go in and actually color her in, it's doubtful that'll happen, but it's a possibility. So I'm going to go ahead and ink her up with the VersaFine black ink. This is a good ink for detail, and there's a lot of detail in this stamp. So let me just ink her up really good and stamp her over here under the Dreams and Wishes section. I'm going to put her up like so. And I'm just going to give it a good little moment to let the ink make contact with the paper, let it sink in just a little bit of pressure, not too terribly much pressure, because you don't want to distort your stamp. And there we have it. Now I am going to take the girl off of the stamp block, and I'm going to lay this stamp side down in my squeaky clean cleaner, my stamp scrubber. And one tip that I have for you is you don't want to take your stamps off of your stamp block and lay them down on anything that isn't either the backer that came with your stamps or your block, because it will lose some of its stickiness. Now you can clean that up with soap and water, sometimes just water, but if you can avoid it, your stamps are going to do better for you. Okay. Next on the list, we're going to go ahead and start with our daily stuff. So I'm going to be using the Faded Jeans Distress Oxides. Let me open that up and get my little stamp block, and I'm going to just move it around on my ink pad a couple of times. This is Distress ink, so Distress ink is not meant to be absolutely perfect when you stamp it, but I do want to make sure that I get some good coverage. So let's see. I'm just looking through there. I have my AM, and I'm going to go through and do this on, whoops, I hit that one twice. You want to just go straight down. Don't be in a hurry. Straight down, let your stamp make contact with your paper. Give it a second so that the ink can actually absorb into your paper, and then lift straight up. All right, so I have my AM on there. That's to remind me to take my medicine, my vitamins, all that good stuff. And next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the water droplets, and this is so that I can track my water intake. Do the same thing all the way across. There we go. All right, next up is my coffee cup. Now, I love coffee. It is rare that you will find me not with a cup of coffee, but I'm trying to track my coffee intake because it is best for me to not have as much as I've been having. I'm trying to cut it back, and I find that if I have to come and mark it down in my tracker that I've had coffee, I think about it and I go, well, maybe I should make a better choice and drink some water instead. Some days that works for me. Other days I just have to have the coffee. All right, so there we have the top section, and I've got a little bit of room that I can do some decoration or some inspirational stickers or quotes or anything like that that I choose to do. And next up, let me go ahead and grab these guys. I'm going to take my my stamp block into my scrubber that already has some water on it, and I'm just going to go over the top of that stamp, and it is clean. Now these stamps do stain a little bit, so they're not going to come dry. They're not going to be 100% clear as they are when they're new, but a stained stamp is a happy stamp because that means that you're using it. And supplies are meant to be used. We can love them by using them. Clean up my water droplets. And set them on the block over there. Okay, now I'm going to load my little stamp block. Let's see which side is more dry. We do want it to be dry. These little bitty stamps, they don't necessarily want to stick real well, so you want to be careful with that. I've noticed that with other Agenda 52 stamps as well. Okay, I'm going to continue on. Actually, I'm going to change up. I'm going to use Broken China. So let me open up my Broken China. I just love this color. And I'm going to come in right here at the top. And put it just between the two lines, trying to get it straight up and down, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, next I have my little asterisk. My plus sign is to remind me to rate my pain that I might be having. My asterisk is actually to rate how I'm feeling overall, like emotionally that day, or your mood. You can call it mood as well. Done with that. And let's see, the next thing I have is for my fatigue or my energy. And so I'm going to use a check mark because I feel like a check mark is a good representation. Am I getting stuff done? Do I have the energy to do it? Or am I having a really fatigued day? It's very helpful for me to track this information because sometimes my doctors are asking me questions, and rather than try to remember how did I feel for the last 2 weeks, I can just turn to it and see, well, you know, here's what was going on, here's how I felt. I also track my sleep, and so I'm going to use the PM symbol for sleep. I'm going to load that on my stamp block. Make sure that it is straight and that it is actually stuck down. Nope. There we go. And because you can see through the stamps, the stamp block, you can actually see when your ink is not going on accurately. Like in this one, it's kind of puddling. You just want to move it around on your stamp pad when that happens, especially when you're using Distress ink or Distress Oxide. And that'll show you that you've got a little better coverage. Okay, next I'm going to switch over to the worn lipstick. And I'm going to pick up, let's see, I have my stamp already loaded. It says love this. And this is where I track things like what I am grateful for, or some people call it a gratitude journal. So I'm going to come in and do my love this. Love this color, that's for sure. It goes really well with this particular planner. And again, because I wanted this one to be straight, I went ahead and loaded it on a stamp block that has a grid pattern, so it's easier for me to see, did I get it straight on the block. If I have it straight on the block, I can use the block to make sure that I'm stamping it straight down. Okay, and next up, I'm going to track. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and pull out these 3 little dots, because for my gratitude, I want to make sure that I'm actually listing at least 3 things each day. Just helps remind me of the good that there is, and to choose happiness, choose joy in my life. So let's see. There are some lines here on this spread, so I want to make sure that my dots are somewhat within the lines. There we go. They just fit. And again, this particular stamp is from the pink paisley set, and I think, let's see, does it have a name? I'm not seeing a name for the set itself. I picked that up at Tuesday morning, and it did it in one of my Tuesday morning hauls. Got off just a little bit. Let me drop this down. There we go. That's okay. I still have what I need on there, and I'm going for purpose, not perfection. Okay. I'm going to pull that one off, and I'm going to load up my little symbol for meals. Get it on there straight. And this one, do I want to use pink? I don't think I want to use my worn lipstick for this one. I'm going to go back to Broken China. So I'm going to clean that off. Dry my block on my hand. And down here at the bottom, I'm going to come up just a little bit so that I can track my meals for dinner. This is good for me for meal planning as well as for tracking. I find that when I eat better, I feel better, I sleep better, all of those things just are better. So this is a reminder to me to plan dinner instead of just plan to have dinner. Sometimes that's the best I can do on my busy days is, well, my plan is to have dinner. But if I can think it out a little bit ahead of time, that helps me immensely. Okay, let's see. I think I'm going to come in and do a little bit of inspiration on my page as well. So let's see. Where can my girl go? I think I'm going to put her down here. Or maybe we want to switch and do a different stamp. Yes. Okay, I'm going to go with Babe, You Got This. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this one in black VersaFine. Going to ink my stamp. it is soaking in. This is the very first time that I've used this stamp, so the ink tends to soak in a bit. And I still have room to do my writing over the top, so that is okay. All right, that's going to be it for my planner for this week. This is my wellness planner, so it's got everything I need to track in it, as well as a little bit of room for me to write notes if I want to. And if I find a sticker that just speaks to me and I want to put it in here, I've got room to do some inspiration up underneath the water before I start the rest of the tracking. So that's all there is to that. I hope this has inspired you to use some stamps in your planner. Maybe you can do some functional tracking as well. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section in all caps so that I can catch them as I'm scrolling through. Like this video, and if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. And then go over and click the bell so that you know when I'm going to upload new videos. I'd love to have you join me on this journey. I do chalk couture, I do planning, and I do fun, crafty things. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy crafting.